Welcome to Third Phase of Moon. My name's Blake Cousins. Now get ready for the start of an amazing journey. The largest YouTube channel is now on the largest civilian-run radio station, Third Phase of Moon Radio with researchers on a mission. Host Dr. J. Andy Elias and best-selling author, MUFON investigator Preston Dennett are about to take you on all the rides of our lives. We'll be taking UFO news, interviewing top researchers. The journey begins now. Third Phase of Moon Radio is officially on air. Without further ado, here comes Third Phase of Moon, researchers on a mission.
The one and only Blake Cousins. We're about to add him into this conference call. Blake, are you there?
I'm here, John. How you doing?
Excellent. You are on the line, live on air with Travis Walton, Preston Dennett, and myself.
Oh, great. I've been listening to the show, and it's a pleasure to have you guys on Third Phase of Moon and speaking with Travis Walton. I want to get to a question here with Walton, is the lie detector test. There was some that were performed with your friends that were left you behind, and they all came up that they passed without any hitches, that they were not telling any lies. Can you go into this a little bit more?
Well, this was the state police polygraph examiner with a good deal of professional experience and the best training available. So it didn't end there. He was after he went into private practice and retired from state employment. He was the one that retested Alan Dallas, Mike Rogers, the crew boss, and me. Years later, with some improvements in the equipment. There was now a computer-assisted scoring independent of the examiner. So he would give his score, the computer would give theirs, and of course they were in step in each case. And results were at the highest level that's you can have with such a test.
You know what, and I'd like to add something in there. From the time that this happened in 75 and the polygraphs that happened then, the technology has increased dramatically to make these polygraphs so much more accurate. And when you've done these last, 5 total now, what was the last one, a few years ago?
Yeah. I was on some silly show that used a fake polygraph, and they falsified the deal for ratings. So, to alleviate any misconceptions, I sought out the most rigorous testing I could get. And polygraph testing is permissible for use in court in New Mexico. So I went there, and the most highly recommended examiner there did work for the New Mexico State Prison, the Albuquerque Police Department, and even the United States Marshals. And so I took 2 tests from him, and this had that computer scoring alongside the examiner scoring too. And it was a super modern deal. There was 5 traces on this, which is the most I've ever seen.
Hey, Travis, we seem to be getting a message here from a listener who wants a question asked. Now, we know you visited the site for National Geographic. Do you go back there by yourself regularly or occasionally, or how many times have you been there, not for television shows, but just for yourself?
I've never gone back alone, and I've gone in the middle of the day, but as little as possible. But I'm going to make an expedition back this summer to finish up on the research that the National Geographic failed to take advantage of, and but I'm going to bring along a film crew and make sure everything's documented, and finally finalize all of the research on the site, and because I've been getting so many requests from people who would like to visit there, and I tell them no GPS coordinates because the research isn't complete yet.
Gotcha. For good reason. Like I like to tell all the listeners out there, this is one of the most important cases because of the amount of witnesses. Again, everybody who's listening, You got to get the book because the movie is not portraying everything. You're getting a small snippet of what's actually happened in the movie. But you want to see the real thing of every detail, you got to read the book. I highly recommend it to everybody out there.
Absolutely. Another question I have for Mr. Walton is about your friends. They were accused of possible involvement with murder when you're missing. I highly doubt that these guys would go through any kind of trouble with the law in regards to covering up some kind of hoax. What would you say that your friends were they scared when the police were accusing them of a possible murder?
Well, yeah, they were definitely very terrified because they were under the suspicion that the law enforcement would give in to the pressure to hang it on murder just to appease the fears in the community, you know, that it was just a killing and not a UFO abduction, you know. So, you know, they were under a lot of pressure, and people are constantly referring them to as my friends, you know. I use the term coworkers because we weren't a bunch of buddies, and, you know, like Alan Dallas, he was kind of a black sheep of the crew, and, you know, these were people I definitely didn't hang around with, you know, off the job. It was really, we were together for the purpose of work, and it was an association based mostly on that. So, not that I, you know, don't now feel a kind of a bond with each one of these guys because of shared experience. We haven't really stayed in close touch over the years. And as a matter of fact, one of them, Dwayne Smith, I'm unable to find at this point, and I'm still, you know, working on leads to try to locate him. I once had a dream of having a kind of a reunion of everybody, but since Alan Dallas died here a little over a year ago, that's kind of not going to ever happen.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, that actually brings another question. In the movie, they kept portraying that you and Alan Dallas had this animosity towards each other. Was that true, or is that just Hollywood?
Well, there was a kind of a friction that occurred, you know, little incidents that happened, you know, but it wasn't just me, you know. Mike and Alan got in a fist fight out there in the street in front of my house, and, you know, Alan had stolen some parts off of Mike's brother's car, and, you know, Alan had dropped a tree, you know, I thought suspiciously close to me, or at least not being careful enough, and that can really hurt you. So, you know,
kill you, not just hurt you, kill you.
Steve laughs about the sparring match that Alan and I had, where, you know, Alan was trying to, you know, add in some karate spin kicks and wound up falling on his behind, and so Steve thought that was really funny, but it was, you know, it's a bunch of loggers. It's kind of a rough trade kind of a situation.
Well, I have to say that it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, having all these other witnesses with you, I think, helped you out a lot in the end. Because can you imagine trying to go public with a story like this and having no other witnesses to support you?
Yeah.
Would you even have gone public, do you think?
Yeah, you know, but I did kind of go it alone for a lot of years, fighting back against all these false accusations. It's only in more recent years that some of the crew have come forward and decided to, you know, appear with me in various shows and stuff. And, you know, it's good. It's good. It helps my case, but I think it's been very therapeutic for them to finally, you know, get a little bit of understanding from people.
After the investigation was said and done, and you were released, and you found that
You're breaking up.
Yeah, someone's breaking up there. What's going on?
Something's happening. Does this sound better here?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. You know, Mr. Walton, about the charges that were, you know, put up to your friends in murder, and then you're missing for a week. After it's all said and done, was there any recourse by the law or the government to come after you guys in regards to this alien abduction for, you know, taking up time, or did they actually come back and apologize, say, no, we were wrong, sorry about that?
Nothing official from the local officials, you know, on the basis of the search. You know, the skeptics were, you know, pushing from several different quarters to try to get the sheriff to prosecute us. But there was nothing to prosecute on, so of course that never happened. But then they came at some of the guys on the crew from another angle. You know, it was kind of a government persecution thing against Mike. They had a federal investigator come in and try to intimidate him. And he says that's been ongoing until recent time. And Steve Pierce, you know, he talks about the attempt to bribe him. He received a $10,000 offer from one of the skeptics who, you know, it now comes out possibly, you know, had some government control.
Why do you suppose your case was so viciously attacked?
Because it's the most threatened, you know, and, you know, these little tabloid stories about aliens meeting with presidents, you see on the front page. You know, they don't go after those. They go after the ones that are the most threatening to the cover-up.
The legitimate cases. Hey, we got another question here that's coming in from the message boards here. This is a weird question, Travis, so I don't know how it's going to go, but this is what it says. Has Travis been visited by or recruited by the secret societies? Honestly, I don't know what that means, but that's a question from somebody out there who's asking.
Well, you know, I there's been some rather cult-based sorts of people who tried to get me to join up, but I haven't gone to do anything like that. So, no, I'm not a member of anything, you know, and talk about recruitment. You know, there's evidence that my chief skeptic was recruited by the CIA because under the Freedom of Information Act, his FBI file came out, and it shows that he was being accused of releasing classified information, and that was turned over to.
Who was that? Was it Philip Klass?
That's Philip Klass.
Oh wow!
There's a memo in that file signed by J. Edgar Hoover, turning his case over to the Central Intelligence Agency. Director to director, and that's not small potatoes. And to me, that's standard CIA recruitment tactic. We have something that we can hold over your head, and now you're going to cooperate with us. It's not like they turned him into a skeptic, of course. He was already a rabid skeptic, but
he was a debunker.
Yeah,
I think he believes in this stuff, actually.
Oh, there's some work that he did that doesn't make sense from the funding standpoint. There's no way the minor sales of his books pay for the plane.
No, I agree. And Stan Friedman, actually, is going to be on in 2 weeks. He has a lot of history with Philip Klass, and there was a challenge issued by Philip Klass to Friedman of whether these documents that he produced were real, and he said, find me 10, I'll give you $100 for each. So Stanton found him 14, and he showed the check, Philip Klass, Stanton Friedman, $1,000, you know, and it just goes to show that he ate his own words. Real quick, I want to put out the phone number for all the listeners out there, because I know Mr. Walton has to go soon, and I want to see if anyone else has any live questions to ask. If anyone's out there listening, if you want to call in and take some questions, it's 347-688-2902. Again, area code 347-688-2902. If anyone out there wants to make some calls before we get Mr. Walton off, you know, here's your chance. If not, then you guys get his book. You guys got to read it. It's an amazing read. You know, it's definitely an amazing read.
Yeah, Travis, there's a book written about your case called The Ultimate Encounter by Bill Berry. Was that in any way authorized by you? Or?
No, it wasn't authorized. He was doing an magazine article for Penthouse magazine, which did appear, but I got to be suspicious about the incredible extent of research that he was doing. So he undercut me, and I actually published his book ahead of mine. But he's fallen off the map. The Paramount, the movie studio, really tried to find him back then, and no one, not even his publisher, knew where he was. He disappeared. And with the movie coming out, my book, and everything, you'd think he would surface. So, you know, the belief is that he's no longer alive.
Travis, this is Blake Cousins. I want to ask you about your experience. If you could take it back, maybe not show up to work that day, after all that's been said and done over all the years that have passed, would you have called in sick to work that day?
Well, I was kind of under the weather. I'd been out late the night before. I kind of took a break during the day, but yeah, I'd rather it never happen. And I certainly, wish I hadn't gone out of the truck.
Well,
How has it changed you then?
With your experience, you have the ultimate answer. We are not alone. And to me, one way or the other, whether it's traumatizing or not, at least you have the answer to that in your own mind.
Yeah, and that does make me feel definitely set apart. But, some of the downside is it's not all good. But it is definitely strange to know for certain something that, even people that are accepting of the odds and the likelihood, and, they're not trying to be skeptics at all. They don't know the way we know. And that's definitely a unique perspective.
This case has been going on for 38 years. You were abducted once, and obviously it's still intriguing. I saw you at the last expo, Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles. Your room was sold out. Not only was it sold out, there were people standing against the wall. Obviously, your case is still intriguing people because of the complexity of it, and yet it was just one abduction, and I think it's just a great thing. One more time, I gotta plug in your book, because for all those out there who haven't read it, you want to know the real story, you gotta get it. Go to his website, get the book, The Fire in the Sky. You'll hear the real story, not what you saw in Hollywood.
What we need is a documentary of your case made, a full-length documentary. What do you suppose?
A theatrical length, it would take that much to cover a lot of this validation. There's just not time to cover in any particular topic.
Well, that's something we'll be talking soon.
Devil is due. I take each allegation that the skeptics have made and then present the information to people verify independently that they don't have the case.
Yeah. It was amazing to have you on, Mr. Walton. If there's one last message you have to say to all the listeners out there and all the viewers that are going to watch this later down the line, Third Phase Moon, what would you have to say? What's your one message to everybody?
I'd say the one message in reference to my case or anyone else's cases, or for that matter, political issues or any other thing. Before you form an opinion about anything, get the facts first.
Yes.
The true facts, which seems like a redundancy, but with today's media, you have to make sure that the facts you have are real facts. If you're getting them just from the skeptics or just from, even true believers, you really have to look at all sides of an issue and weigh and consider. But you got to do some research. You can't take people's word for things.
Just like Stanton Friedman says, the noisy negativists, they just, they do their research on proclamation, where basically their minds are made up. Don't bother me with the facts. This is the way it is. This can exist, therefore this evidence doesn't exist. So that's the way it's portrayed, and it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Are you still being attacked by skeptics then, would you say, or do most people believe your case?
There, and I still, some of the silly old stuff that, has been refuted long ago, thoroughly documentable, provable, it still comes up because, they're only getting one side of it. And the skeptics are guilty of a very propagandistic style. I've gone on some of these skeptic websites and tried to refute what they're saying, and they won't allow me to post. So you can see that you're getting a very skewed presentation of the so-called facts.
Wow.
We had Third Phase Moon.
Ooh, Blake, you're breaking up.
Yeah, Third Phase Moon, we have over 600 videos plus of UFOs from around the world. We have 60 Skype interviews with eyewitnesses, video testimony, and people have their opinions. They share it on Third Phase of Moon, and it gets quite colorful, and we invite everybody to, have their opinion, and that's what it's all about, getting information out and asking questions.
Yeah, actually, Blake, we had some breaking news from you that you got some amazing new footage from Australia. But let's close out Mr. Walton real quick because I know he's got to go. Again, we've gotten all the questions asked. We've asked you the hard questions. We've heard that the movie was not accurate. We're hoping that there's going to be a remake done. We'll have the definitive story of Travis Walton's story, the documentary. We hope that comes out soon. Again, people, get his book, listen to it, and read it, and listen to his lectures, and you will truly see that this is one of the most remarkable cases, even more so than the Bethy and Barney Hill, in my opinion. One last word, Mr. Walton. I'll give it to you before we let you go for the day. It's been a pleasure to have you, Mr. Walton, and I hope you have us. We'll have you again on this air sometime in the coming future, and by then, hopefully, you'll have a release date for one of your remakes or the definitive story of the Travis Walton case. Mr. Walton, on behalf of Preston and me and Blake and everybody at Revolution Radio, it was a pleasure, and I mean a pleasure to have you. And I just got to add in there, it was also a pleasure to finally meet you in person, at the Expo and at the Congress. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
All right. Great talking to you.
Thanks again, Mr. Walton. Everybody out there, get fire in the sky and keep your eyes in the sky. Now, let's go back to Blake here. Blake, for all those who don't know, the Cousins brothers, Third Phase of Moon, they started this company where basically we started receiving footage from around the world. And these guys worked really, really hard to put themselves on the map. And now they get footage almost on a daily basis, and we put it out there for the journalists to decide. I'm proud to say that I joined the team last year, and the numbers of subscribers have jumped up exponentially, and in some ways, Third Phase of Moon is almost a private MUFON. Ever since Mr. Bigelow bought the services from MUFON, it's kind of been downhill. Even Preston, who's been a seasoned investigator for MUFON, will say there's been some shakeups going on in the last couple of years. So, Blake, my hat's off to you, my brother. You and Brent truly are doing the world a great service by putting this out there, by providing the footage that people give you and showing it to the public. If it wasn't for your channel, I don't think half the sightings or 600 videos of amazing footage would be getting the 50 million views that you guys have amassed. And like I said, I am proud to be a member of your team. Tell us about this amazing footage you've just received from Australia.
Hey, thanks, John. We appreciate the heads up and the kind words. We definitely try our best over here at Third Phase of Moon to get the word out. And like you said, our subscribers have grown exponentially. We're up to approximately 62,000 subscribers, 50 million views worldwide. And, yeah, breaking news video just came in. Russell Crowe, the actor, Gladiator, had his own UFO encounter. He put it up. The Huffington Post went with it. The video went viral. They're actually photographs, time-lapse photographs, and they went viral. And we try to make contact out to Russell Crowe, and we're trying to get tweets with them. Hopefully we could get an interview with them over here at Third Phase of Moon in regards to his photos. But just shortly after that, there's an incredible video from Sydney, Australia, the same night that Russell Crowe captured his photograph of amazing lights in the skies over a home. And we're posting it on YouTube right now, Third Phase of Moon. And they're spectacular lights. We have no idea what they are. We post it. We let the people decide. And it is growing, and people are sharing their opinions. And like you said, with MUFON, we're getting a lot of complaints from people and eyewitnesses that they make contact with MUFON. They never hear back from them. They never follow up. They don't take their story seriously. So who else are they going to go to? I would say Third Phase of Moon is a place to go to if you've captured anything amazing. With Bigelow buying them out $750,000 a year to cover up in case there was some information coming in that he's going to retain it for himself for his own personal reasons. We don't get that. We would also, John, you've been trying to get in touch with Bigelow Aerospace through Third Phase of Moon, and what do you got to say? have they made contact back with us yet?
Oh, man, unfortunately they haven't. And you know, Blake, I've tried multiple times. I even got in good with his secretary. We've called several times, left him messages, and I don't understand why he hasn't stepped up to the plate when he did go to MUFON. And you know what? I don't want to break this news quite yet, but we might have a backdoor in with Mr. Bigelow. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that maybe he will step up to the plate. We're going to use one of our contacts that we've had. I'm not going to say who he is. That, of course, Blake, you know who he is. But for the listeners out there, we're going to do our very best to get in contact with Bigelow again. We've tried multiple times, but this time we're going to use this special contact who's a very intimate friend with him. And we'll see if he can actually fund some of the research or basically just tell us what's going on in the Skinwalker Ranch and all sorts of things.
Yeah, we got to get some answers from Mr. Bigelow. He's building spaceships, private possible hotels when something goes bad down on Earth, so they could escape, get up to outer space, and kind of ride the wave as things are kind of falling apart down here on Earth. He has his own escape route, and he's able to weaponize space. Besides, the UN passed there shall be no weapons in space whatsoever, but for some odd reason he has the capability of weaponizing it. We got to ask these questions and see what his agenda is, or at least find out what he's found out from MUFON over a year's worth of information coming in and Skinwalker Ranch. I'm sure he has all kinds of information that the people need to hear.
You know, Preston, or Blake, can you tell the viewers out there a little bit more about what's going on?
Yeah, I was actually appeared on the Jesse Ventura show and talked a little bit about this, and there's no doubt that Bigelow has got an in with the secret government, and what exactly his plans are, I don't know, but I think he's also got proof through the Skinwalker Ranch that the extraterrestrial presence is absolutely real, and that there's going to be big changes in our society, and perhaps that's what he's preparing these space stations. So I don't know, we'll see. There's definitely going to be a lot of changes coming, I think. That's a very strong theme.
You know, I do admire Bigelow, and I hope he is listening. You know, if I were a billionaire and I had that kind of money, I'd be almost doing the same thing he's doing. Rocket ships, space stations, that sounds like a great thing. So, you know, if I were him, we can't blame him for trying to follow his dreams, and with his money, he's able to do it, and that's America for you. With new footage coming in on a daily basis to Third Phase of the Moon, we want to share and let Bigelow know what's going on, because I'm sure he has advice and resources to help us out to do more research around the world with regards to these sightings from around the world. We got to get to them. It costs money. We need to document the cases, get the interviews, and maybe Bigelow could help out. That's
he should be able to help out because he's funded other things. And, you know, this brings me to a next amazing point, and a logical point. We visited the moon in 1969 for the first time with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, right? We had a couple more moon missions after that, and then abruptly they stopped. Obviously, there's a speculation that we were told to stay off the moon, and that sounds right. And here's my theory why. We have natural resources on the moon, yet we're building this International Space Station that we keep adding to. Why in the world would we have this rotating space station that we have to keep sending supplies to and keep removing debris from when we could have had a base on the moon and used the natural resources? Evidence shows that there probably could be water on the moon or some way to harness that into breathable oxygen. And yet, rather than doing that, we're doing this little floating space station. So something's going on there. And Mr. Bigelow is involved with this new company, I don't remember the name of it, that basically is the private NASA right now. And he's got this rocket, and basically he's building his own space station if it's not already built, which to do so, obviously you got to have the approval from the highest forms of the government. So the U.S. government obviously approved him to have his own little space station up there, and something's going on. Just like Jesse Ventura said in the conspiracy theory, if things hit the fan, if I don't want to say the bad word, but if things hit the fan on Earth, him and his cronies will get on this little ship and get off the planet. And you know what? That sounds like a very feasible idea of why he would have his own space station and his own rocket ship.
Sounds like fun. Like I said, if we had the money, I think boys like their toys. And wow, you can't get better than a toy rocket ship actually going in outer space. And it's quite incredible. You know, it's been over 40 years since we've been to the moon, and technology's surpassed 10,000% since then. Why haven't we been back any sooner? And we do plan on going back, but I wonder what the delay is.
You know, and China's going back, and we're not. And all of a sudden, Obama canceled NASA, so now he put it in the private sector, which is bad because a civilian-run space agency is no longer around, which is terrible. And now it's going to be in the private hands, which means nobody has to report to anybody. So whatever they're doing, there with SpaceX, which that's the name I was trying to think of. That's the corporation that has the private ship, which was in the news not too long ago, where they successfully made it into space with their ship. And they don't have to account to anybody. And that's a scary thought. That they.
The great thing about NASA is they worked. The technology was developed, and it trickled down to the citizens, the internet. Cell phones, all this stuff was created by NASA and the military, and it trickled down. But once it's in private enterprise, wow, they're just going to keep it all for themselves.
Yes. What's an irony of it is this a regular calculator actually has more computing power than the LEM, the lunar module. I think that's just a funny thing that how technology has gone. Philip Corso was a big person who worked in a colonel who was in the Pentagon, and he was tasked with bringing alien artifacts and seeding them into the public, and he's credited for creating night vision, which came off the alien lenses from an alien body, from lasers, which came from a cutting tool, which they surmise is a surgical tool from the aliens. Maybe that's what they use to cut into the cattle. And then
right, and don't forget the integrated circuit,
yep,
fiber optics.
The fact that we're using cordless in cell phones, that all comes from Philip Corso. IBM.
This is just the tip of the iceberg too. I think most of the technology is being suppressed. So what we have is really just the most primitive of stuff.
And what's ironic is most people got these little smartphones, these iPhones, which are basically computers in their pocket. They're computers with camcorders and iPods and everything in one. If the civilians have this, can you imagine what kind of technology the Navy SEALs are using? I cannot even imagine. And remember, I don't know who this person was. It was some guy, a famous aviation expert, who basically said that in the Nevada ranch, there are things that would make George Lucas envious, basically implying that Star Wars and Star Trek, everything that you saw technology there-wise, is nothing compared to what we really have. And I'm really curious to find out what will come of that. I hope one day that we will actually be hearing about all this. But, it seems like we're going to be running out of time in about 15 minutes, and I'd like to talk a little bit about Third Phase of Moon. First, here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, we would like to issue a challenge for all you listeners out there. We want the best footage. We're going to have two categories. One, we're looking for the best UFO footage. The second, we want the best footage of an alien being, or a chupacabra, or anything anomalous, even if it's a ghost. Two categories. And the winners of these prizes will be announced on this show in a couple of weeks. Submit them to us here at Third Phase of Moon via Skype or Twitter, and we will give the winners an autographed copy of Preston's book. And it's going to be, you guys, if you haven't read Preston's books, he's got 15 of them, 2 more in the works for a total of 17. My favorite is UFOs over California. I'm currently reading UFOs over New Mexico and UFOs over New York. He's got so many amazing books. But the point is the winners of these two categories will receive an autographed copy of one of these amazing books, which are not just speculation. If you look in the back of his book, Preston really does his homework. Every single case that he's documented here has come from a source. Everything from a journal to a television station to a magazine, an article. I mean, what is it? In UFOs over California, 337 different sources right there. You really do your homework, Preston, and I give you credit for that, because you do an objective analysis when it comes to this, and that's what's great about your books. So for all you listeners out there, Third Phase of Moon is giving you a challenge. Provide us with some great footage, and the best footage, from freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio, Third Phase of Moon. We will be giving you guys the autographed copy of this newest book.
And also the opportunity to share your video with the world. With Third Phase of Moon, it is the outlet to premiere your video and not let it go on the wayside via YouTube and its algorithms. We're in an algorithm, so in its own way, if you got something amazing, we're able to get it out there to the public the fastest anybody out there on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of people post their footage on their own channel, but it's not getting hits. If you guys have anything amazing caught on camera, even if it's still shots that we could interview, you want it to get the most views, you got to bring it to Third Phase of Moon, because we broadcast it to the world. We have some videos that have total views over 4 million views. 4 million views. That's an astonishing number, considering that some of the top ufologists who present some of their footage get less than a couple thousand, some in the hundreds. That's nothing compared to the millions. So if you guys all out there listening to this, we want this contest to go on. We'll give you guys 3 weeks to come up with the best footage, and there'll be runners-up. We'll come up with that. We would just want to see what's provided, and make sure when you provide it to Third Phase of Moon, you provide it and you say that this is for the contest from Revolution Radio. Preston, you got anything else you want to talk about before we go back to Blake and close out the show soon?
Just want to thank you for the kind words. It's great doing this show with you. I had a blast talking with Travis Walton, and I'm really excited about all the things we're going to be doing, and hope people do send in their footage. I know there's a lot of people out there with evidence and don't know what to do with it, and I think this is a great idea.
Our scheduling. Next Saturday, again, join us here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com for Third Phase of Moon, Researchers on a Mission. We're going to have Stan Romanek and his wife Lisa Romanek, international best-selling author and also known as the most well-documented abduction case. The following week, we're going to have the godfather of ufology. That's going to be on the 23rd of March, again, 2 to 4 Eastern Time, Saturday. We'll be talking to him. He just won the Lifetime Achievement Award. So those of you who don't know that there, give him a thanks if you see him, or you Skype him, or you email him, or better yet, you can call him and talk to him directly on this show. And the following week, we'll be talking to the alien implant doctor, Dr. Roger Lear. So we're going to have a great time. This show is just kicking off, and we're going to have great interviews, as we've been doing with Third Phase of Moon on our YouTube channel. Now we basically took the largest UFO YouTube channel that Blake and Brent Cousins have created, and I'm happy to be a part of their team, and we merged on this largest civilian-run radio station. Again, the two combined can only mean great things for all the people out there listening with regards to UFOs and ufology. Again, for all those people out there listening, I'd like to remind them, if you want to provide us with the footage, find us on Skype or Facebook at Third Phase of Moon. Spell out Third, T-H-I-R-D, of Moon. Third Phase of Moon. Blake, anything else you want to tell us?
Well, we're looking forward to the future interviews with Stan Romanek. We've actually posted some amazing footage that he supplied to us at Third Phase with, the grandpa alien in his room. Amazing photograph. He's promised in the future, when he has rights, he will give us a full video of this alien encounter, and then a spectacular light or orb just shooting over his home. It was spectacular. It's real. It's something that's very unusual, and that's what we want to see right here at Third Phase of the Moon. Something that nobody's ever seen before, the best footage, the best UFO footage. That's what we're looking for. And, this show's going to be great, extending into the biggest radio show on the Internet and combining the YouTube Third Phase of the Moon. We are going to get the word out. I'm actually receiving some information coming in via Skype right now. I'm going to have to get going. So, I want to thank you, Preston Bennett, Dr. J. Elias, for, corresponding on this show with us at Third Phase. And if you captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs, you could contact us via Skype or Facebook. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Blake. And it was a pleasure speaking to you, and I'm sure next week we'll have you on again, as always.